Hey guys, this is Daniel Dr. D and I'm back with another review. This time it is the Sony PS1. This is specifically the SCPH-1001 Sony PlayStation. It's for games, but apparently it has gotten rave reviews from some very reputable audiophiles as being used as a CD player. And so I was curious because recently my Magnavox CDB650 had conked out on me. So as a result, I was on search for another CDB650 and I couldn't find the one in the proper condition I was looking for. And then I stumbled on these reviews about this thing. I was just kind of curious about it, you know. And so I found myself getting one. I'm like, yeah, I can afford it anyway, you know. Certainly can't hurt to spend 50 or 100 bucks to find out, right? So this is a refurbished model. I paid more money for it. This one was 100, even though you can find them used for 50 bucks. I mean, it's astonishingly a low price. But this one came from a reputable seller who had some good ratings, and it was really well cared for. And if you ever do decide, and I'm not necessarily saying I'm selling it, I'm just saying that if you do decide, it helps retain the resale value on them more so. It also came with this wireless dongle. This is where the wired connection would go for this hand controller, so I can run it wirelessly. There was no manual that came with it. I just looked, myself, just pressed the buttons and fiddled with it, and I figured it out myself. And I will just tell you, mechanically, I love this device. I mean, I just love the simplicity of this thing. It's lightweight, it's small, it takes up very little space, and I just like the features. It's very basic, nothing fancy. And what I compared it to is this, the Leak CDT transport. This is a transport, so you have to use it in conjunction with a DAC. In this case, I'm using the Denefrips RS2, and the two combined, you're looking at roughly almost $2,000 or roughly $2,000 versus an astonishing $50 to $100 for these things on the used market. So, go figure. The speakers, I'm using the Harris C2s in this different room. I'm using the Dynakit ST35 with the Earhart Audio Aretha. And the way I have these plugged in, I'm going to explain this to you. There's several auxiliary ports on the switch here. So I connected all three, the different cables. There's two different cables. You can put your standard RCA cables on here to connect it to the back of your preamp. And then I have this other video audio cable that goes in, and I have that also connected. So I can compare, just flicking the switch a couple of times here and there between the two. I can immediately tell if there's a difference in sound. Now, then I have the Leak CDT and the Denefrips also connected. So all three of these, I can just flick through it. Now, for listening to the differences in the cables, I just flick back and forth here between these two. Because the speaker's right there, I can hear it, I'm right next to it. What I want to hear is a relative difference, okay? So even though I'm not in the ideal, seating position to listen, I can still hear if there's any relative difference between those two cables settings just by flicking there, and that really helps. So something important, a few things to mention to you. This device did not measure well. Apparently the audio gods or whatever, they said this thing doesn't measure well. I'm not a measuring guy. I don't really care about measurements. I mean, I'll give you an example. Tube amplifiers don't measure well. So does that automatically make them bad to listen to? Hell no. All of us know tube amplifiers are amazing. These two are just astonishingly good. And so I'm not concerned about that. What I'm more concerned is, can I actually hear the difference? Is that sound or that whatever that noise floor, if it's audible, can I hear it? I don't know. I know now, and I'll tell you, I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, apparently they made, when they were reviewing this, and these reviews by these reputable guys, I mean, I think those reviews started around 2007 or so. And, but they tried to make a power pack, a separate power supply in here to try to cut the noise down. But my understanding, I think John DeVore was the one that mentioned it, they said the stock version was the better way to go. And apparently the power pack didn't make any audible difference as far as the noise floor on it. So you can read up the reviews on those people and, see for yourself what you think. But I wanted to hear it myself, to get my own feeling on it. And that's why I'm doing this here for those who might be interested in a CD player. Luckily, I had these two. One of these belongs to my friend Bob. I had been looking for it. I just found it a couple of days ago. And I got to return this now that I found it. I want to return it, but I've decided I'm going to use this for the review. And I can start them playing exactly at the same time and flick through. Now, something important. The volume on this is higher. So whenever I flicked over to the PlayStation, I had to turn the volume up. So I had to make a conscious effort. And it's important to do that because whenever volume is lower, there's just a natural impression that the sound that's louder is the one that sounds better, because you sometimes pick up these lower sounds, these subtleties of the instruments and stuff in the background that you may not hear with the volume low, but you do when you turn it up high. So it was important to adjust it to hear the sound quality between them. And so here's, now the big question is, how does it sound, And I'm going to tell you what I think about this, okay? The first thing I'm going to just tell you is that the differences between these two cable settings, this video and whatever, it is impossible to hear a difference. I don't think anybody, Superman, could hear the difference on this, So I flicked through, I stood here and I just flicked back and forth. There was absolutely nothing, I could tell, so. And here's a funny thing, this is a cheap cable. I mean, these are cheap cables, by audiophile standards, I suppose, and they don't look very bling, right? And this is a video which is just dangled down there. But nevertheless, couldn't hear a difference, impossible. So I wouldn't pass a blind test. Now, would I pass a blind test between this and this? Yes. There is a difference in the sound, and it's really interesting. It kind of struck me. The bass that comes out of here is astonishing. There's something about the bass, it's a palpable bass, man, that comes out that doesn't quite come out the same in this setup. However, there's a little bit more transparency going on here, a little bit more detail on it, okay? But I kept going back here. And what is it I like about it? It has this, I will tell you, it is unlike any other CD player I've ever heard. And I've tried a few, okay? It doesn't sound like, I totally understand what these guys were talking about. It does not sound like a digital device. Digital can have a square, choppy, missing information kind of sound to it. And this doesn't have that. What it is it has a warm, slightly rolled off sound. And it's just pleasant to listen to. So I get what they're saying, like, that it has that kind of smooth analog kind of sound to it. Whereas with this, it has a little bit more of it's a little bit more detail to it, but this is just pleasant to hear. And I think in this room, because I don't have proper, if you look in this room, I'll zoom out a bit here. I don't have like proper room treatment in this room. Yeah, I'm still not done with it. I'm working on this room. And as a result, I think this CD player in here actually sounds more pleasant to listen to in this room than this, And think about this, $2,000 roughly versus $50. I mean, go figure, right? And so I think it's going to depend more on the person, what sound they're going to be after. If they want that slightly more rolled off sound, a little bit warmer sound, then you want this. If you want to have that real kind of more analytical sound, you'll get a little bit more out of this. You can hear that. Yeah, man, what can I say? I'm astonished at this thing. It doesn't sound like any CD player I've ever heard before. It has a real pleasant sound, and I'm going to keep it. I have another Magnavox CDB 650 on the way since mine conked out, and I'll have that too, but I love this thing, and so I'm going to keep it, and as long as I can, and just enjoy it. And so I don't know. I hope this review helps you out, and if you're looking and you're on a budget, I would highly recommend this thing, man. You couldn't go wrong. In fact, I'm going to eventually build a plinth for it, and cover it. I'll make something custom for it, really nice, because it's worth it. And I think I'll just enjoy it, enjoy the pleasant sound that it produces. Like I say, once again, if you want more detailed, slightly more detailed analytical sound, the other setup over there in the corner might be your ticket. So you have to decide what you think. I hope this review helps you guys out. If you got any comments, questions, feel free to chime in. All right, till next time.